that game to finish, it finished somewhere back in the first quarter anyway. Even though it's the last few minutes of the game, it's not worth watching. I've seen enough of this. I don't know what you want to call this, but I've seen enough of it already to know, wow. Those guys, the Dallas Cowboys today played like they had vacation on their mind. Like they know they have the bye week coming up and they've already taken the bye week off because they have 2 weeks off. Because that shit was an off day. That certainly wasn't anything. I'm reminded here though, a lot of what Coach told me, and I told you guys about this, the focus and how hard it is to have guys focus going into the bye week, how tough it is. And it looked like that's what Cowboys, they've already planned their off-season. The off-season is playing, or at least their off week was playing. I hope that Freudian slip that I just had is not an indication of the kind of year that this team is going to have when I just said they already have their off-season plan. Because the way they played today, it does seem like they already have their off-season plan and they know it won't be in playoffs. Because what I saw today, I see it's going to be very difficult for this team to try to line up and win 9 games. You could be looking at right now, from what you see, is Team 3-3 right now, or one of those 8-9, 9-8 seeds. If we get a few breaks, maybe you can find a 10 somewhere in there, but man, that's going to be what I just saw, a tough task. You know, if offense is not clicking, defense certainly can't hold anybody down. I don't even know the numbers because I'm waiting for them to finish and get the packet, but I guarantee you they had at least 10 what they call explosive run plays, played 10 runs of over at least 10 yards, and probably another 10 passes over 20 yards. A run over 10 yards, a pass over 20 yards, they call those explosive plays. They had a gang of them. Jared Goff, 18 for 25, 318 yards, 158 passer rating. That's perfect. That's a perfect game. They were able to run the ball, throw the ball, do whatever you want with the ball, just whatever you want on our defense. There have been a lot of people at the top of the year talked about the pressure that's on Mike McCarthy. I do agree that there's some pressure on the coaching staff and on the coaches over there. But right now, that pressure isn't squarely on the shoulders of Mike McCarthy. It has another Mike in there helping it, and that's Mike Zimmer. Mike Zimmer, with that defense looking like it looks, Dan Quinn, even though they lost today to Baltimore, got Washington looking like they look, this does not look good. I know you don't have all your players, and I know all the guys aren't there. Mike Zimmer, my guy. I mean, me and Zimmer is like this. Like this. That's my guy. But I'm telling you right here, right now, this is a reckoning. This has to come up. Somebody has to start talking about this. The difference and the difference they made on that defense and the difference it's making on that defense. They got to figure something.
It was for me.
It was Lions and Cowboys, and happy 82nd birthday, Jerry Jones. Well, maybe not so happy. It starts quickly, Tim Patrick.
Yeah, Jared Goff and the Lions have a present for you. Beautiful job protection-wise on third down. Patrick has been such a great addition to this football team. They take their shot, he makes the contested catch.
And then Rex, on Countdown, you talked about the physicality of David Montgomery.
Yes, and here it comes, and boom, on their shaky hop here. It's no problem. Look at that, man. No wonder they gave him a big contract. Way to go, David
Setting
Montgomery.
the tone, 7-3. Now, Cowboys drive it down, Dan, and this really kind of turns everything around.
Great play by Branch. Dak is trying to peek him to the flat to throw the corner. He floats it out there. Branch baits him to make that throw, drops back to it, easy interception.
Second quarter, Lions up 10-3, and Detroit very much in their bag. Here come the tricky Lions.
This is their play. They're going to get the jet sweep motion. They're going to toss it, then hand it, then toss it back to Jared Goff. Laporta sneaks out down the sideline. Great throw by Goff. Better catch by Laporta. In this moment, you feel the route is on.
Oh, very much. Who called that play, Rex?
I have no idea, but he's got my last name.
Nolan Ryan?
Still in the second quarter. Oh, the defense. Jerry can only watch. Final seconds of the half punctuation, Dan.
They physically did whatever they wanted for the course of this game, certainly in the first half. A dominant performance by Detroit.
And then, unfortunately, a day that was so good for the Lions turned so bad right here. We won't show you the really gruesome look at it. But I can tell you that Aiden Hutchinson has already had surgery on that broken leg. You see the reaction of his coach and of his teammates. They all know. If you've seen by now the replay of it, you know just how bad it was. A devastating injury to a player who might have been the best defensive player in the league this year. One way or another, that was the only downside of what was otherwise a completely dominant day for the Lions. Here's another punch that leads to a turnover. In the end, the final score, 47-9. An absolute destruction of the Cowboys on Jerry Jones' birthday. So, Jerry, what happened?
This was a shocker. I thought we would do a lot of things better in that football game, and I think we can. We just didn't do them out there today.
Concerning, I'm not a guy to hit the panic button. I get to have the ball in my hands. I get to lead this offense. I get to lead this team. Hard for me to say that.
What would it take you to evaluate making a head coaching change in season?
Oh, I haven't even considered that. I'm not considering that. Just so you're clear, I'm not considering that.
But you've done it once before.
I wouldn't be a hypothetical in that matter. Do you think I'm an idiot? Do you? Okay, well, I'm not going hypothetical with you about when I'd consider coaching change in light of the timing we're sitting here with. I'm not at all.
All right, so that's a definitive answer. It was his birthday yesterday. It was also the Cowboys' bye week here, which might have been one of the reasons that you bring up the question if you're going to make a change, and sometimes it makes sense to do it in that circumstance. But Jerry Jones says he was shocked by what he saw yesterday. Were you, Dan Orlovsky, shocked?
No, the Cowboys lost at home by 40, and the most outrageous thing was Jerry Jones saying he was shocked by what happened yesterday.
Why?
If anyone knows football and has paid any attention to these two teams this season, you saw how this game was going to go. That's why it was easy to pick the Lions and pick the Lions one-sided. The Cowboys do nothing well offensively outside of the quarterback to CeeDee Lamb occasionally making plays. They can't protect. They can't run the football. They can't stop the run. They've been absolutely atrocious at home. They've had crucial turnovers in the red zone situations. What's that, 3 in the last 2 weeks that have taken points off the board? Mm-hmm. The Lions are by far the more dominant football team. And for Jerry Jones, I'm being legit here, to sit there and say that what he saw was shocking tells me that he has no pulse of his football team. He has no pulse of who his teams are going to be playing against.
So you're talking about you're talking about the talent, right? You're talking about the players on the field, the pieces, the chess pieces, if
Greeny,
you will.
When this team got boat raced by the Packers in the playoffs last year, for them to run it back and to think that this was going to be a playoff football team talent-wise tells me that they've completely lost vision of what's needed to win in the NFL.
Well, so let's actually illustrate that. Cindy, can we put up A23? Going back to that game against the Packers, the Cowboys have played 4 home games, starting with that one. So that one and then the 3 this year.
Oh, my gosh.
Look at that total. Look at the way they have been dominated at home. They've allowed 167 points. In 4 home games, they've been outscored by 82 points in that span. That's an average of 20.5. I'm not very good at math, but even I can figure out they're losing by an average of 20.5 points per game in their last 4 home games. He's talking about the players. Who are you talking about watching that game?
Well, I mean, I knew going into this game that it was going to be an ass whipping. That's what I said the day before.
Of football.
Yeah,
exactly. And I'm like, are you kidding me? This is going to be the biggest mismatch of the year on the coaching thing. Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions, against Mike Zimmer, the defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys. It was going to be, Dano, it was going to be like you playing chess against Bobby Fischer. Well, it's not going to end well. And so you knew it was going to be a mismatch. And it was like,
why?
Every bit of it. By the way, Gritty, they never punted. Detroit never punted in this game.
Yeah.
Like, you think maybe get some high school coach to go in there and maybe force a punt. Like, this is a joke. They get out-schemed. Yes, they're not as physical as Detroit. That was going to be a given. But you're getting out-schemed any way possible. They did exactly what they wanted to do to you. And to me, that's coaching as well. And it's not just on the players. The coaches need to start looking back like, hey, it ain't okay just to play 3 weeks. It ain't okay to play match freaking coverage.
Right.
Like, you got to do something. And we saw it. And Dano, I owe you an apology because remember I said that they physically whipped Pittsburgh and all that. When I went back and watched that game, you were a hell of a lot more right than I was because that defense still stunk in that game. Yep. So to me, this defense has been atrocious, and I get it. You're without Micah Parsons and Lawrence. And you know what? That shows you they can't cover your butt up. They're not there to cover your butt up.
It also shows you the deficiency of the roster, that those two guys matter. They're great players. They matter that much.
So if the question is, was it the players or was it the coaches, D. Wood, what was your big picture take as you watched that game?
Greeny, I don't say this lightly, and Rex and Dano know what I'm about to say is it's a big deal. Dallas Cowboys are soft. And for me to use the word soft, you're basically attacking players' manhood on the field. And if you look at the way the Dallas Cowboys have played, I always say the game of football is very simple, okay? You block, you tackle, throw, pitch, catch, all that type of stuff. If you can't win in the trenches, you have no shot at winning in the National Football League. I dare anyone, go look at the film. Just watch the game and just watch what goes on in the trenches with the Dallas Cowboys. They can't move anybody up front on offense, and on defense, they are getting, the line of scrimmage is getting removed 3 and 4 yards backwards. Running backs aren't even getting touched. Look at this. No one's getting touched at the line of scrimmage. And on offense, look, we're seeing all these guys coming free right up the middle on the offensive line. So again, these problems, we can talk about coaching and all these type of things, but at the end of the day, these guys are soft. That's the bottom line. No scheme is going to correct what's ailing the Dallas Cowboys right now.
It sure as hell would help, though. And by the way, D. Wood, I agree with you, except that number 6, that poor guy, that safety, Wilson, that dude ain't soft. Like, holy cow. But that poor guy's got to go one-on-one, make tackles against running backs, and he sticks his face in there. But the rest of them, it's like, I get you. The guys up front, linebackers, the D-line and the linebacking core, they were getting manhandled in that game.
So let me chime in with what I think. And look, everything all of you have said I agree with. And on a day like this, there is more than enough blame to go around. That's one of the worst days that any team has had in recent memory. But here's what I will say. I will go back to the very first point you made. I don't know how people didn't see this coming. When it has been so obvious, this team just was disintegrated as this summer took place. They made absolutely no additions, absolutely no improvements. They got worse and more expensive. This team is a mess. Their window was there. That was a really talented roster, one of the best in the entire National Football League. They had great chances the last few years, and we saw them absolutely come apart in the playoffs. That's over. This thing is done. They may get their season back a little bit on track. They may win a few games this year. This team is definitively not a contender and is not going to be again anytime soon.
The window has closed for the Dallas Cowboys, but I have felt that way all offseason. That's why when people were saying this is a top 3 or 4 team, how? I didn't even have them into the playoffs. This team and organization is so far away from the one that won 12 games 3 years in a row.
Right.
The talent has completely depleted. They used to own the line of scrimmage. What had happened to them yesterday, they used to do to teams, especially at home. We used to talk about it. I remember for that 3-year stretch saying the most reliable play in football was the Cowboys defense on 3rd down. Now all teams do. This is a very simple formula that Woody talks about. We're going to run the football at you, or we're going to play action you. For 3 years. For 3 years, they haven't been able to figure it out. They've had different players, different coaches. This is a football team, and if you look at realistically, like their next 6 weeks, a lot of their games are going to look like what Detroit did to them.
That's exactly right. So they have their bye. I don't know what, if anything, they can figure out. I don't know. Look, there were people yesterday texting me and all over the place. They need to fire the coach. Would that make any difference at this point?
Hell no.
There's the schedule we're talking about. The 49ers are going to do all that same stuff with or without
Christian
the Falcons. McCaffrey. Falcons. Eagles is an interesting game. Texans have looked very good. And then the Commanders, who to this point have clearly been the class of the division. Let's say if they do well, they win one of those games, and now you're probably hopelessly buried at that point.
The two games that you feel like they have a shot to win are Philly and the Giants.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's a good shot.
By the time you get to the Giants, also, that's a pretty long ways away.
Correct.
Between now and then.
I think this team's better than that. Look, they got to get through, this mess, all right?
What mess?
They got bludgeoned by a way better football team, all right?
Rex, they get bludgeoned every week.
No, I
Any team
understand
that can bludgeons them.
Well, I understand, but that's why you got to take a hard look. So that you've got to see something schematically. I've said it before all year. Nobody wants to listen. You've got to take the bullseyes off of your players. They do nothing. They sat in the front, take the ass whipping, and just say, hey, I'm going to go up against D. Wood. How's that going to end up? That's what it looked like yesterday. All right? No. Put me on a move, do something, and bring somebody else.
They don't have the talent. But
you don't have talent to sit there and take an ass
on either side of the football.
No, but
on either side.
Look, I've had some teams a lot more talented than others. I'll be damned if you're going to sit there and just keep taking it. So to me, you've got to do something, and it's got to be, bringing safeties off edges, doing something. Like you can't just sit back and let these teams get started. And look, no team's going to beat them like that team did. That team right there, Detroit, and we all knew it.
Yeah.
They never punted. They never punted in this game.
And they wanted that one so badly. The Lions felt that game was stolen from them a year ago on New Year's Eve because of the bad call where the guy didn't report as eligible, or he did and they said he didn't. Whatever. This was a particularly bad day. But we just showed you this is not unique. I mean, D. Wood, we put the numbers up there. Cindy, we can put them up again. They're losing these games by an average of 20 points a game at home. That full screen, the A23 or whatever, my glasses. I mean, look at this. This is 4 straight home games. It's their last 4 home games. It includes a playoff game, D. Wood.
That's not scheme.
That's what I feel.
That's not scheme.
What is it?
It's
humans.
It's personnel. You don't have the personnel to match up with Green Bay. You don't have the personnel to match up with the Detroit Lions. You don't have the personnel. And listen, see, this is the coach and Rex talking.
Right.
This is the coach and Rex. Because Rex believes, and I know this for a fact because I played under, that he's the best damn defensive coach that we have out here. But at some point, players got to make plays. Yeah. Guys, I always talk about the game is simple. Get your ass off the block. Guys aren't getting off. They're not doing the most mundane things that you got to do to win football things. And that's why I am not a believer in the Cowboys, because it doesn't matter about scheme, coaching, and all that. They don't have the personnel to win one-on-one matchups in this National Football League. They don't.
The last 4 home games for the Cowboys, they have led for a total of 135 seconds. In the last 4 home games. And to Wood's point, just from an offensive perspective, there's not a single thing offensively that you don't believe you can do against this defense. You can do. Why do you think the Lions last night were doing everything, trick plays? They were running hook and ladders to tackles. There's not a play that you think you can't run. You want to run the football at him? Great. You want to play action at him? Great. You want to trick play at him? You don't fear them. Because here's the thing. Wood, you know it would.
Yeah. Why are you laughing? What struck you as
because if the play doesn't go well,
do you know how disrespectful it is for you to run like a hook and lateral to an offensive lineman? Like to an offensive lineman.
By the way, it worked for a touchdown.
Look at this. Look. You're throwing to offensive linemen.
They almost make the play.
That's a tight window throw.
This is it.
Hey, look at this. Look at this. You're running a hook and lateral to an offensive.
Did it work?
That is totally disrespectful. Totally disrespectful.
Look,
I mean, this is ridiculous. Oh my God.
So they wanted to rub that. What you're saying is
They got clowned.
Oh, they got yes.
they got clowned.
Yeah.
No, but they remember, Detroit remembered going into this game, they were going to have a massive chip on their shoulder because they know they got messed over on that call.
Right.
I mean, they did. But here's the thing. Remember all of them waving to him, CeeDee Lamb and all of them waving at Detroit? You don't think Dan Campbell sit back going, oh, really? I'm going to rub your nose in it. And that's exactly what they did. We're going to punk you in your own building, and we're going to rub your nose in it. So they took, because Dallas felt great after they got the win. They got gifted that win.